You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
It is episode 8. Ep 8 of the pod, Unfiltered, and really unprecedented, and I say that in some kind of a sarcastic nature myself. Another unplanned episode. I was just sitting here in the Unfiltered band. Thank you very much. All right, I said quiet down, people. Listen. I was sitting there planning other episodes, and I was joking about this the other day, but like being very serious about it. I joke, but in serious nature, if that makes any sense. When you do 4 hours a day for 13 years, and then you don't talk, it's like the dog can't talk back to me. Not like I'm taking phone calls on the podcast like I did on a call-in show for 13 years. But anyway, it's like, I like the banter and I like hearing the reaction out of this, what the hell? Like, how did you not have Gretzky in your appointment view? And it's like, I explain that. Like, come on. Like, I try and give explanations and rationalizations. And also, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks, all that kind of stuff. But, like, I have all these, like, planned things. And then it's like, I wanted to do some NBA tonight. Yeah. Like, I had the pleasure and, was really blessed to be able to do, the free agent fever with Turner for years. And to host that and be there for like 5 hours at a desk. And it's fun. It's crazy. Like when all this stuff is going off because it's like, the great, there's the moratorium and then like you can't do the deals before. It's like everybody's already like, how you can avoid that? No one talked to each other. Like really. I mean, come on, man. You've received an email. Nope, can't check it. Just in case a buddy of mine trying to ask me where he's going to sign. I mean, in real life that happens. So come on, man. But I love it because it's, and I've always said this, this is where welcome to another podcast where I find something organically that leads me into, here's where baseball screws this all up. Here's where baseball screws this all up. Like, you got to cram free agency into a certain time period. The NHL and the NBA get that, like, I mean, it's terrific versus, like, the horrific of, like, the drag out in Major League Baseball, right? I mean, it only ended up being what it was this past time around because with America's pastime, quote unquote, you were, locking everybody out. Dudes couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're open season. And then, of course. And then it was like, that stupid Friday after Thanksgiving where it's like, why are you really online for like 8 hours for a microwave? Are you serious? Like, granted, I once slept outside of Tower Records to get a bracelet to go into a mosh pit and Green Day concert in Uniondale, Long Island. So what the hell am I thinking? By the way, speaking of what am I thinking, before I get started talking some NBA with you on this pod, I've been joking if you've been following me, and as I said last time, and I meant sincerely, like this wasn't a joke. Screw you if you haven't. But if you have been paying attention, we're a work in progress in terms of our background, and it'll come. I just went through a move. But I added something here over this shoulder this time from our podcast, the time around where we did the Hills to Die On, my top 10 sports hills to die on. And if you remember number 9, Cowboys fans are the worst. So I've now added that right behind me. Our graphics team, I mean, they went through a lot of work right there. How come I can't line up my finger? I mean, this is like one of those things like, can you chew gum and walk at the same time? Can you eat 10 crackers without drinking water? And by the way, last thing, I gotta say this. I won't show the brand that it is because they're not sponsoring me yet. But, so, man, this is pretty funny. Because it's like, really? This is what I ordered? So, I ordered food tonight. I was lazy. I was actually hooping again until I can't imagine. Like, it's amazing. Like, these courts are packed here in Atlanta at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like ass hot. It's crazy. I'm playing till 9:30 at night. The lights are on at the park. There's only like a few of you, and it's like you're just running back and back and back and back. And it's like a great workout, and it's much cooler in the air. So to all the people locally, like, what the hell are you doing at the park when you're like dying to heat at 2 in the afternoon? But I went to order food because I was a little bit behind. Like on my way back, actually, like from the park, I was like, I really am hungry, and so I really wanted some bottles of water. I didn't feel like going to the store, so I ordered a couple of bottles of water at the place where I ordered food. Now, I did not check what kind of bottles of water they were. So I'm the ass, okay? I didn't check. This is what they gave me. Looks like I'm drinking champagne. So just in case, like, for everybody, this is not like clear tequila. This is not vodka. Like, I'm not, like, it happens to be the middle of the night because this is when the frenzy is the frenzy and the free agent fever or whatever you want to talk about. Like, I got the fever, like with the NBA, right? So that's why. And I was, kind of, tossing and turning as I was thinking about different thoughts I had on it. I was like, you know what? I just want to kind of like get them out and I'll put this out and people can listen to it or watch it in the morning. But this is just water. But really, and like I needed a bottle opener to open it. Who the hell wants to use a bottle opener to open a bottle of water? But if Aquapano wants to sponsor me, there you go. All right, here we go. Wanted to get into some of the stuff that's gone on because I love this sport, and there's a lot that I'm pretty passionate about that already kind of has developed, even though a lot more will come here over the coming days, considering, you get requests of trades and all that. And let's start with that, with KD, okay? First of all, I asked this question, and I asked this honestly, and this is like a terrible thing to say. So please understand, I'm me. I mean, I'm the guy with like a blue lit up headset if you're watching. Does anyone like Kyrie Irving? Anyone? Is there anyone, not only watching him play, because the dude is like an all-time talent, Hall of Fame talent, and I mean, unless you're including, God Sham God, Rod Strickland, like they're, Zeke, like they're like, look, Steph is great at this too, by the way, but there were like a lot of great ball handlers, maybe the best ball handler we've ever seen. You talk about legitimately knowing how to handle the rock, right? Does anyone like this dude? Like, I'm from New York, and like at no point have I been, man, I wish Kyrie was a Knick. Like, not for 3 seconds, literally. Not for 3 seconds. He's way better than Jalen Brunson. I don't want him on my team. Is that dumb? Maybe. But does anyone like this guy? The only shocking thing to me about KD asking for a trade is that he still wants to play with Kyrie Irving. I'd be like, dude, like, I don't care what anybody's thing is, like, on the vaccinations or whatever. Like, are you kidding me, dude? If I could play in the NBA, you could shoot me in the leg, literally. Like, are you serious? I'm sorry. That's just real talk. Like, nobody putting a chip in your brain. Like, I don't care if you're, like, for it or against it. Like, I'm not for pineapple on pizza. I hate it. If somebody told me I could play in an NBA game, I'll eat pineapple on a pizza, like, while strolling around a street naked on rollerblades. I don't give a shit. Like, are you kidding me? Does anyone like Kyrie Irving? Anyone. Please, someone at me. Do you like Kyrie Irving? I don't mean like watching him play. Like, I mean want to have a beer with him, like enjoy him. Like, he's enjoyable. Is he enjoyable to anyone? What a pain in the ass this guy is. Seriously. What a complete pain in the ass. Sorry. Real talk. Okay? Real talk. And a lot of people are thinking it and like they don't say it. What a complete MF and pain in the ass this dude is. Seriously. Like, I know everybody's rights or thoughts or religions. Like, I don't care about what, like, that's all fine and good. How many excuses we got? Still was on the Celtics. They're in the playoffs. Gordon Hayward had been back for 4 minutes and is out playing him. Kyrie was like 3 for 30 shooting. I remember doing a postgame at Turner, and this guy's up there saying, I should have taken 40 shots. No, you shouldn't, moron. Like, come on, man. Like, dude, own something with accountability. Like, all this guy does is, like, succeed with his ability, and then if, I don't care. Look, you can't win on your own. I get it, even though LeBron tried to prove that with Boobie Gibson and Ilgauskas and all those guys with the Cavaliers. He took Shumpert, right? And J.R. Smith, who were like, at the time, were like Knick rejects. And look, J.R., these are both talented players, but like they were on the Knicks, so all of a sudden they had cooties. And this guy was dragging them to titles. So maybe you can. Took Kyrie there. And I know Kyrie hit the big shot and at the third. That's great. But like, he wasn't better than LeBron. I'm sorry. And, like, when he had a chance to build his own team, do it on his own, he ran away. And then when he went to the next team and he didn't like them because they didn't want him to be, like, their boss or their daddy, they ran away there, too. Now he wants to run away somewhere else. And I ran so far away. I mean, does he ever stop running? He's running from playing games because of the way with the vaccine. I mean, when is this guy? Is anyone like Kyrie Irving? That I should title this, Does Anyone Like Kyrie Irving? Let's get to KD. I hope they don't get traded together. As a basketball fan, I really hope not. I don't want Kevin Durant to be playing with Kyrie. I feel like watching KD is like, it's like watching David Copperfield. Like, honestly, like I remember watching David Copperfield, and I've seen him a bunch of times in Atlantic City, in Vegas, in the Cats. I've seen him like 5 times. And it was the first time I saw him, I remember, I was with my family, and his last stunt, he drove a motor. This is real. I mean, it was an illusion. But like he drove a motorcycle towards the audience into it. Like just drove off and like disappeared. How the hell did you do that? Well, how can you be 7 feet and be doing the things KD does? I have no idea. I love watching the guy play. And I actually, outside of the burner accounts, dig a lot about him, okay? I think there's been some insecurity in the past I don't really understand, if we're being fair. But, like, I dig the dude, and who doesn't want to watch him play? I just don't want to watch him play with Kyrie. That is like a pizza, and then here's some pineapple. No. In this case, I'd rather the peanut butter on the bread without the jelly. Like, can one of you, no. Kyrie's got to opt in because it's like nobody wants to trade for the guy, or it doesn't work out, or it doesn't fit his list. What list do you have? Like, how about the list of people who could tolerate you? I'm sorry. Like, somebody's got to say it, right? Kevin Durant, I mean, it's like watching David Copperfield, all right? I don't want him to be soiled by playing with Kyrie Irving. But I do want to talk about the optics of this, because the optics of this are real shit. Like, they're terrible. I hate this. This is like, when I was talking about the shift in the first episode, and I said, you can't ban the shift because it's difficult. Like, you don't tell, and I gave these references, if you missed the first podcast, screw you. But like, Huggy Bear, like, hey, you can't press. Jim Boeheim, right? No, we're not doing zone. Like, really? Like, I can't use it? No, you can't use it. Buddy Ryan may rest. No 46 defense. Like, you can't tell me you can't do the shift, but it sucks to watch. I'm not at all going to sit here and say that anybody should tell anyone else for a living what they should want to do. That is dumb. Like, the whole idea that people got mad at Kevin Durant when he left Oklahoma City to go to the Bay Area, you had me at hello with that. Like, I'm sorry, and I know people I know in that area, like, they get mad at me when I say this, right? It's nothing against Oklahoma City, but it is. If you told me I was doing one job in OKC and I could do the same job for the same money on the same quality of company in the Bay Area, goodbye. Unless I got family or, like, doctor-related issues, we're like, hey, bro, I'd love to go, but I can't get out of OKC because this is going on. No, like, I'm gone. See you. Like, I'm thinking of the bridge in the beginning of Full House. Like, I'm out. Peace, okay? There's no way I'm staying in Oklahoma City when you can make more money and then have more of the, the sex appeal of things in life that all come with being a champion, and can be a champion and play with better players that push you and all those things. Where in the hell am I not signing that deal to go to the Bay Area? Now, if it was the opposite, then we have a conversation. Well, should I go from the Bay Area to Oklahoma City? I could win. I could do all this, but then I could stay in the Bay Area. No one is thinking, I don't know if I want to go to hang out in San Francisco. I think I'd rather be in Oklahoma City, have a less chance to win, play with worse players, and more confusion over my career, and my brand won't grow anymore. But hey, I'll stay. Like, people who said he should stay are idiots. It's like when Albert Pujols went to the Angels for $50 million more. I said this at the time I was on the air, the day that this happened. I said this at the time I meant this. Take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, right now. You cannot I want you to do this. If you're driving, be careful, right? Oprah probably says it's bad. But take a blank piece of paper right now, and you can't put religious thing, like somebody says, like, you got to do something against your religion. No one's asking you to do that. Somebody says you got to do something against, like, your morals. No morals. I'm not saying have no morals. We could call this show that, but I'm not saying that, Cowboy fans are wrong way, are the worst. But I'm asking you this. Put on the list all the things you wouldn't do that I asked you to do right now if I gave you $50 million. I'll wait. You know what you're going to have? You ain't going to have jack and what comes with it. You got a blank piece of paper. That's what you got. You got nothing on that list. What is on that list? I'll move to South Dakota and clean blood off the ice in the one hockey rink they got there. I don't give a... It doesn't matter. $50 million. Are you kidding? Not about $50. Well, when those guys make so much money, it's what's the difference between 200 and $250 million? You mean other than $50 million? If you make $200 today as you start your workday, let's say if you're listening to this on a Friday, right, when tomorrow or today is, whatever. If you make it $200 today, and I told you for doing the same thing next door, you could make $250. You're not going? Yeah, loyalty and all that. I get it, right? Now imagine $200,000 or $250,000. Imagine if it's $50 million instead of $50,000 more. You're really not going? Are you kidding? And mad at Pools. Well, he lied that he loved us. No, he didn't lie. Guy was big in the community. Now he's back, right? He didn't lie. He does love you. He just doesn't love you, the community, and the people that aren't his family as much as the family that he just gave an extra $50 million. Hi. So I'm not getting on Kevin Durant in general. Like, everybody wants to, sit there. And look, I love Chuck and working at Charles Barkley. It's like, people getting on him at the time when, with KD, when he went. And like, how could you? It's more manly to lose by yourself. Like, no, it's not. Dude. Like, okay, Michael Jordan was like the most egotistical guy ever. You think he wants to go back in time and trade Scottie Pippen and only have Scotty Burrell the whole time? No, I don't think so. Okay? Doubtful. Really doubtful. Get over it. But I hate the optics of it. So I can't tell KD, look, street cred is like you could be a player getting calls from an umpire, right? A pitcher getting the outside of the corner of a plate. The street cred and sweat equity and all that stuff going to get you anything in life. And if you're KD, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So I can't really get on him for being like, screw it, I want out of here. This place doesn't work. What I don't get is that he decided in his own mind, hey, I think if I take Kyrie with me, it's a good idea. No, it's not. Even if somehow the Lakers or somebody financially figured it out, it's not a good idea. But on his own, he could do whatever he wants. He's probably going to end up in Phoenix with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and good luck with that. I mean, forget it. Even the Warriors aren't going to be able to play with that. Forget it. But, like, I can't blame the guy, really. I hate the optics of it, though. I do. I wish, like, they would send Kyrie somewhere, and then he could figure it out in Brooklyn. I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm a New York guy. My dad's from Brooklyn. It's like, and I like the Nets. I do. So it's like, but, like, you can't be surprised when this happens. And it's like, how many teams do James Harden and Kyrie Irving have to be on? Like, how many, when, like I always say to people, it's like, when you're in a relationship, right? Anyone who's ever been in this situation. When you're in a relationship and everyone hates your significant other, like that except you. You're the problem, not them. And you always find it out too late. I don't care if it's an episode of Saved by the Bell, which it's happened in, where it's like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you when you told us whatever. Like, that's what happens, right? But that can happen with one person. It's like, okay, it's just not a fit, and then, that person can have a great relationship with the next person. You can have a great relationship with... That can happen. How many relationships Kyrie got that are good? How many James Harden had that work? Like, how many teams these guys going to play for? Really, honestly. They're like Reggie Sanders and Todd Zeal at this point. How many freaking teams are they going to play for? God, it's annoying. Sorry. That's not analysis. That's just real, right? But KD can go whatever the hell he wants. You going to get on? You tell him. It's like, again, really, David Copperfield. I mean, that's really what it's like watching. It's serious. I mentioned Brooklyn. Let me get to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson deal, the reported deal at $104 million or whatever it is for 4 years. The largest deal, first $100+ million deal ever given to a player who'd never been an all-star. And when you're a Knicks fan, like I've been my whole life, this is the classic, well, they overshot, right? And this is, which is, you want to talk about, and I mumble because this is the saddest thing to explain, right? I'll give you an example of I'll tell you what just went through my mind, and I'll get right back to this, because it is correlating, I promise. In my brain it is, at least, right? It is late at night. And I have this large water, so maybe it's getting to me. I mean, how dumb does this look? Seriously, you people got to get the video just to see this. It's the stupidest thing. It's like, really? Like, what did I... And I didn't order lobster. Like, what came with this? If I told you, you'd be like, really? I just don't want you to know what I eat. It's a secret I tell you ever. No, it's... Anyway. So here's where I was going in my head. As a baseball guy and working in that sport, I think of many situations like this, but one that I'll give you an example that I was thinking of, like Mark Teixeira. When Mark Teixeira was a free agent back in the day, it was the offseason where the Yankees got CeCe and Teixeira, and I'm missing a big one only because it's late at night. But they spent $500 million, all right, in an offseason. It's like, okay, like the Yankees are back, right? And then they end up in a World Series, right? I know so many fans in Maryland who were like, he's coming to the Orioles. Because he's from there. He's coming to the Orioles. Like, no, dude, he's going to come home. The Orioles offered him a lot of money. The same amount, I think it was $184 million. The same amount, I believe, that the Yankees offered. But you got to overpay to get somebody to not play for the Yankees and play for the Orioles. Now, no offense to Baltimore, but that's understandable when you got to take somebody to tug them away from the Yankees to the Orioles. You know what the sad part is? The Knicks are the Orioles, not the Yankees. That's the sad part. You got to overpay. Now, I got to pay dudes more to play at the Garden, the Mecca, the greatest place on earth, right? I mean, it's amazing, but it's real. Like, I got to pay guys more to play there. I got to beg them, right? I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. I like this deal a lot. Let me tell you why. First of all, and forget about the fact that just, Rick, who's his dad, is now assistant coach with Tibbs, and I love Tibbs. I had a chance to work with Tibbs for only about a week, but I had like a really weird 3-month stretch in the years that I was at Turner where I worked on a set, and at different points in the 3 months, my analysts were Jason Kidd, Frank Vogel, and Tibbs, and like they were all like coaching the next year, and was like, I led you there. I mean, clearly that's not what happened, but I got a chance to get to know them, all good dudes. But Tibbs is awesome. Like, he's like, I told him before, and even though I knew he was like a Knick guy, like from the 90s, I was like, I'm going to hate this guy. Like, he seems like such an asshole. He's such a good dude. I loved working with him. I mean, he's legit, right? But you're in New York, and you're on the Knicks. This is not like playing for the Mets, okay? Look, the Mets, everybody's excited. Everybody's into it. The fans are dying with them, and I know, right? But the Knicks are the Knicks are packing the house, and it's like, why are you going? Really, you feel that way as you're walking in. Like, why am I here to watch Steve Novak? Like, what am I doing right now? It's like I had those moments. Like, why am I here to watch Keith Van Horn play? What am I doing right now? But you go. I mean, they pack. It's a different feel. It's a vibe. But you need to be a winner, and you need, for that team to be good, to have a leader on the floor. Somebody who leads this team. And it doesn't have to be leading them just in points, but leads them in play. Now, Julius Randle, I love what he's become, and I love what he's done. I love R.J. Barrett and the growth that he's got. But to say it in the way Mark Jackson would say it, point guard, like, you got to have a point guard, because it's like point guard when you're literally running a team at the Garden. And there's a lot about Brunson that reminds me of Mark Jackson. Like, obviously, not specifically the way they play, because, Mark obviously is such a good facilitator, one of the best of all time. But I remember watching Mark Jackson at St. John's and was so excited when he went to the Knicks. and then came back a second stint and not so much was excited when he went to the Pacers and got pudgy and was backing down Chris Childs the way he was. Not as much. But I was so excited because, and I admittedly, when Tibbs became coach, I wanted to, and I was telling everybody that I work with, I was like, please, can we make this? I wanted Mark Jackson to be the coach, forever. Because Mark Jackson was a New Yorker and a leader, and he got it. He got that, I got to be tough to do this. You can't, look, I mentioned Chris Childs, not going to get him on him or Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward was ready to fight P.J. Brown at that foul line. Chris Childs was maybe he talked too much, maybe more than his game set, but these guys were not afraid. That Knicks team, with Mason, May rested, Oakley, those guys weren't afraid. Anthony Bonner, everyone was afraid of them for good reason. Xavier McDaniel, you got X-Man Bonner. It was honestly, it was like the Avengers. You can't be afraid. R.J. Barrett's still a young player. Clearly not afraid, getting better as a shoot, right? But you got to have a leader. No offense to Emmanuel Quickly or all the other guys that they've had bouncing around in that spot, and obviously D Rose has done it. But I needed a guy who embodies Jalen Brunson. I know his dad played for the Knicks. He played a lot, obviously, at the Garden in the Big East, right? But you're talking about, and I've only met Jay Wright once. Ironically, we spent a lot of time close to each other because I grew up in Long Island and spent a lot of time at Nassau Coliseum, which is a stone's throw or a snowball's throw or a beer bottle's throw, depending upon what bar you're at in that Hempstead Turnpike, from Hofstra, right? I'll give you one thing I remember about those bars on Hempstead Turnpike. Anybody who lives in that area will remember. There was a bar, I don't even know if it exists anymore. It was called Bogart's, which was a shithole. But it was a bar that, you can get into it with a fake ID. Sorry, parents. When I was, in my teens, and I just remember, it's terrible, but it's funny. Have a sense of humor, people. It's okay. Because it could have a he instead of she on there. It doesn't matter. But the bartenders were wearing shirts, drink till she's cute. And I was like, that's fun. It's a fun shirt. That's what I remember. Sorry. That's why it's unfiltered. By the way, reminder, Cowboy fans are the worst. So when you're sitting there and you're looking at the Knicks and their situation right now, what's their road to get to the finals? I have no idea. But the Celtics actually make you feel better. Now, you need R.J. Barrett to take another step. He's got to become an even better player. He's got to get close, and he's a young player. But he got to have that jump to next year where you're talking about him doesn't have to be Jason Tatum, but he got to be a guy you talk about there, right? Now, I don't know if he's got that in him. We're going to find out. You're going to have to get some, I don't know if it's luck. You picked him where you did in the draft. But he's going to have to be there because you're going to have some help. But Julius Randle has continued to grow, right? They need the Marcus Smart type. Now, I'm not saying in terms of the same player, but the grit and the guy who's going to bring, Jalen Brunson, listen to interviews from this dude, and I was talking about Jay Wright, these 4-year guys with Nova, look at, they all know how to play. They all they did was win. Go look at this dude's record when he was in college. They lost seems like 5 times. Him and Hart and Arcidiacono and all those guys. It's absurd the amount of winning that they did. Right, DiVincenzo, all those guys. This guy's a winner. He continues to get better. He averaged 16 a game this season. Doesn't need to do more than that on this team. You need him to just be a leader, make the right plays, and they need a playmaker on this team. Is he worth $25 million a year because of a playoff run where Doncic mixed a couple of games and he hit 41 and had 31? Look, you hope he's not B.J. Upton, right? Melvin. It's $75 million. Here it is for 8 home runs in the playoffs. I think he hit 5 after that the rest of his life. You don't want that. But I really do believe because of what they need, and it reminds me of Mark Jackson, he's got a New York toughness to him. You know he's going to work. Obviously, having Dad there has always been tough on him, but been a mentor. He's going to help. He's a guy who's going to be an extension of what Tibbs and the toughness you got to have there. I dig it. I really do like it. Now, I know they tried to get DeJounte Murray, and that's where we'll go next. That would have been a really big deal. Now we're talking. You somehow figure out how to get both those guys, right? With Randle and Barrett, and now we're talking. But the Celtics, it's like they don't have that many great players. I'm sorry, like Al Horford's 104 years old. Like, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but it's not like the Heat had better players than they did. Sorry, and younger talent. Like Jason Tatum, stunk up the joint in the finals. I get he's a really talented player. I love Jalen Brown, like the way he plays. Marcus Smart, grit and all that stuff. But it's not like they weren't blowing dudes away with talent and ability. The West has like 5 teams that can do that. So the East has a little bit of do I see like the Brunson, Randle? No, it doesn't make sense. Barrett's got to make a jump, and the Knicks got to add somebody else. How? I don't know. They have 700 first-round picks. You couldn't trade enough of them to go get DeJounte Murray? That's what I don't get. Like, what are you having all these picks for? What are you hoarding them? You hanging out with them? Like, what the hell is like a bunch of hats in a closet? Like, what are you doing with them? Good job by the Hawks, though, and I'm sure Trae Young's excited on the DeJounte Murray edition. I think that'll be good for Atlanta down here. And I like watching the Hawks play. I'm trying to think of other ones I want to hit on. Bradley Beal. Like, I love Brad Beal. I love watching him play, okay? This dude's one of the more underrated players still in the league, even after everything he's done. All the times where he wasn't an all-star, and I don't like that he complains about it necessarily, but okay. Look, I can't tell anybody who got $251 million what to do. Here we go again. Like, why would you take that? But, man, do I wish I could, hypnotize the dude to not take a deal from the Wizards and take 4 instead. Like, you got so much money. You're so talented. I know you're so tied to the organization. This is where, he needs a bunch of friends to tell you that you're in a relationship where the other guy sucks. Right? Like, dude, she bad for you. Like, you're in D.C. They're never going to win anything. Like, sorry. Like, you're just not going to win there. I love Monty Morris. Like, Will Barton. Like, you're not winning. Like, you're not going anywhere. You could add 19 guards to help Brad Beal, and they ain't going anywhere. All right? Sorry. I can't tell a guy not to take $251 million, but I'm just saying. I wish he'd leave. Please go. Like, it would be easier. Be fun. Wouldn't you like to see him somewhere else? I would. My gosh. Anyway. The one underrated deal I want to touch on, there's more that will come. Maybe I'll do a couple more of these as more deals come out. But the P.J. Tucker thing with the Sixers. Now, obviously, they're working with Harden, and there was a report that this weekend they will have more discussions. And you figure, they're going to figure that out, right? P.J. Tucker, there are certain guys that's like wherever they go, you're going to win. And I'm not trying to compare nothing against it. He's a great dude, Eric Hinsky. Like, he does a lot more than Eric Hinsky. And he's not as good as Charles Haley. Like, I'm trying to think of other guys, like, everywhere they seem to go. It's like, really? Okay, we're winning again. Like, this guy's, like, everywhere where you win. But what he did a couple years ago and how he changed the Bucks and added to what they were bringing to the table, and then, the grit and down the stretch, even though, my God, he was like up front and personal for like the massacre that Kevin Durant was putting on him in that series 2 years ago. Doing the best he could. That's just because KD is Copperfield, right? But, again, he goes to the Heat and you see how he helps there. Like, him in Philly, I think that's big for a guy like James is a great player. But, he's not going to have any, moments where you're like, wow, this guy like Herb Brooks and Miracle, or like this guy like, he's really fueling the fire with his passion. No, that's not going to happen. You need P.J. Tucker. He also, I feel like it's a hockey team where it's like you would have, where's Gretzky and where's Marty McSorley? Like, you need a guy to kind of protect all of that you got with the Beard. So I think it's a big deal, even though people don't talk about it as much. It's not going to get any fanfare. What do you get? 3 for 33. It's totally worth it. 33.2. I don't want to take that away because it's a lot of money. This is 8. It's kind of 0.2 comparatively in size and length, but more will happen, and it'll be like my luck. I'll send this up there, and 35 minutes later, Kevin Durant got traded to the Suns for 4 bags of chips. It's like, what deal do you have to get? Does anyone like Kyrie Irving? Please, I'm asking, and I know that I'll forget to ask them tomorrow, but believe and hi, I love you, thank you for having me. They're going to tweet stuff out. Please, I don't care. Tweet the only thing in the podcast. Ask anyone. Ask me asking, does anyone like Kyrie Irving? Not his game, not his handles. Does anyone legitimately like this guy? I don't know if there's a less likable player in the NBA right now.